Blade has just become an entity known as Unliving Darkforce. He has practically become a god, but is that enough to defeat all the Marvel heroes? I'm Andrew, the Geek Master, and in this video, we'll see how Blade became a god. To not miss stories like this, click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and let's get started. In Blood Hunt, a group of vampires led by Blade used Darkforce to cover the sun, creating an eternal night and unleashing violence upon the world. Blade and the Blood Coven, a group of superpowered vampires, also launched an attack on the Avengers, capturing several team members, turning Black Panther into a vampire, and taking control of the Impossible City, the Avengers' orbital headquarters. The remaining Avengers allied themselves with Dracula and Blade's vampire hunter daughter, Bloodline. Along with Tigra, Hunter's Moon, and Spider-Man, the group went to Doctor Strange's sanctum to seek his help. Strange remained trapped in astral form because his physical body was severely injured by Blade during a previous attack. But before the heroes could formulate a plan, Spider-Man began to transform into a vampire. In the Impossible City, now home to the Lord of all vampires, Black Panther tells Blade that the item he's looking for is buried deep within Wakanda. While Blade insists he wants this item at all costs, Scarlet Witch, who is trapped by magical runes, congratulates Blade on getting everything he wants, but notes that one of his Blood Coven has not returned yet. She asserts that Blade only managed to capture the Avengers because they didn't expect his betrayal. But now that the heroes know he's behind everything, they're more than prepared for anything Blade plans. Meanwhile, at the Sanctum Sanctorum, Miles Morales, who has also been turned into a vampire, begins attacking all the heroes. When Vision holds him from behind, Miles quickly uses his Venom Blast to free himself from the android. However, as soon as he hits the ground, Clea swiftly uses the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, while Doctor Strange uses the Eye of Agamotto to restore Miles's mind to normal. Upon discovering what happened to him, Miles is shocked to realize he almost killed his friends. But the silver lining is that he's not alone because Blade did the same thing to Stephen Strange's body. Bloodline still doesn't know who's behind it all. She even asks who the new Lord of the Vampires is. That's when Dracula reveals that Blade, her father, is the mastermind behind the plot. He's the one who cast darkness over the world, broke the powerful Avengers, and now she's the only one who can stop him, leaving the girl in complete shock. In her desperation, Bloodline simply begins to run. Since Miles is practically the only hero she knows here, he decides to go after her. But Dracula also pursues her because he won't let his only hope for victory escape. Thus, Tigra and Hunter's Moon assert that the Midnight Mission will assemble an army that cannot be killed or turned into vampires, but they need one more to join their group. Meanwhile, the Avengers know they need to confront Blade and the Blood Coven. As the villains are untouched in the Impossible City, they must find a way to lure them out. So while Clea transports Tigra and Hunter's Moon to Asgard, the Avengers plan to broadcast a message of hope to the entire world, hoping it will force Blade to leave the Impossible City to shatter that hope. Indeed, Captain America Sam Wilson begins to deliver a beautiful speech. After all, it was for this reason that T'Challa saved the Captain, because he is a symbol of hope in this dark world. Captain America's speech is seen in Halifax, Impossible City, Manhattan, Mexico City, Asgard, Latveria, and Wakanda. In the speech, Sam asserts that they've fought before against worse adversaries who also tried to conquer Earth. And just as the villains failed before, it's time for the world to tell the vampires they cannot take over this world. Tony and Carol are impressed with Sam's speech, but after the broadcast, Captain America says he just delivered the same speech he and T'Challa made in the Impossible City. Perhaps T'Challa will recognize those words, and it will give him the strength to return to the hero's side. Logically, Blade is not at all pleased to see this broadcast. He quickly contacts Panther, saying that the plans have changed. He orders Black Panther to redirect the said item to New York, which will be the Avengers' tomb. Indeed, that's when we see the ancient Atlantean temple of the first blasphemy appearing in the middle of New York. After the arrival of the temple of the first blasphemy in New York, Doctor Strange's astral form and Clea visit Doctor Doom in Doomstadt, Latveria. Naturally, Doctor Doom boasts a lot, but also understands the critical situation they're in. If the heroes came to him, things must be really bad. Meanwhile, at the temple of the first blasphemy, Blade, the Blood Coven, and Black Panther walk through the place, with Blade very happy to be here again. At this moment, Black Panther asks if the man he's talking to is really Eric Brooks, Blade, to which Blade reveals that no, he is something much bigger. He starts to give hints about who he is, which only irritates Panther, who once again asks what he is. It's here that we discover the true villain of this saga, Varney, who was essentially the first vampire in history, and he is controlling Blade's body. Back in Doomstadt, Doctor Doom informs Doctor Strange's astral form and Clea that it's obvious Varney is behind this attack. A few years ago, Marie Laveau failed to make Blade the host for Varney the first time, but if Blade's actions have changed so drastically in recent days, it can only mean that Varney finally succeeded and is controlling the vampire hunter. When Doctor Strange mentions that he noticed there are no vampires in Latveria, Doctor Doom explains that he had already taken precautions in case of a vampire invasion, as well as a precaution against the Darkforce. Still, Strange asserts that they need to restore the sun to achieve victory. To bring back the sun, Strange mentions they will need many wizards and magical creatures. But Doom reveals that he has already taken care of one of the requirements by recruiting the students of Strange Academy, which surprises both Steven and Clea. And there's still a crucial detail. Doom mentions that for these plans to succeed, Strange must grant him the title of Sorcerer Supreme. Meanwhile, in Asgard, Hunters Moon and Tigra arrive outside Khonshu's cell. Here we discover that the third person they brought with them is Wrecker, who possesses an Asgardian crowbar that happens to be the best tool to open an Asgardian prison. Back at the temple of the first blasphemy, Varney tells Black Panther that his goal is to complete a certain ritual. For that, he needed the living Darkhold and the blood of a god in his hand in his place of power. Being a vampire is not his final form. He is destined to be something much bigger. He is destined to be the end of all things. Upon completing the ritual, Varney begins to consume all the power of the Darkforce dimension, becoming one with the darkness. He even says that he has become a vampire that consumes entire planets, entire stars. He has become the unliving Darkforce. However, at that moment, to his surprise, he sees the bright light of the moon appearing in the sky, not just him, but everyone. From that light, the fists of Khonshu, the souls of Moon Knights throughout human history, begin to emerge. They are led by the current Moon Knight, Mark Spector, who immediately attacks every vampire they encounter. Varney quickly understands that the light is the moon god. But the truth is, it doesn't matter because it's too late for any god. However, suddenly, Black Panther feigns a betrayal against Varney and simply attacks him, only to be easily stopped by the villain. Still, Varney wants to know how this is possible since his own blood was in him. Panther reveals that Wakanda had faced vampires before and that the heart-shaped herb has been curing him of the vampiric infection little by little. When Varney asks if Panther really thought he could stop him, Panther reveals that his true plan was to remove the thorn from Thor's head to free him from the state of semi-death the god of thunder was in. And indeed, that's what happens. Thor is finally free. And as if that wasn't enough, all the other Avengers also appear ready to defeat the villain once and for all. I hope you enjoyed another chapter of this bloody saga. To see the continuation, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and leave your like to help us. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next adventure.